This is the Wellness Club, where we dive into all things wellness, from nutrition to fitness to productivity and more. We are exploring the science to help you feel your best inside and out. I'm your host, Cass Camp, and I am so happy that you're here. Welcome to the club. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited about this episode because we are talking about the 3 wellness non-negotiables that you need to be doing to set yourself up for a flawless week. Not every habit is created equal, and there are certain habits that actually set you up for a better week that when you don't do them, you end up paying the price the rest of the week. And I'm here to help you avoid that feeling. So in this episode, we're gonna break it down. I'm gonna share my weekly non-negotiables. We're gonna talk about how to figure out yours and some tips to stick to them so that you're not paying that price, because we've all been there where we have all these things that we need to do and we end up prioritizing everything else but our non-negotiables, and we spend the entire week feeling behind, playing catch up. And I'm here to help you avoid that, because that is the worst feeling. Now, while I'm talking about this, you might be listening and thinking, I don't even know my weekly non-negotiables. What does that even mean? How do I figure that out? I just do what I need to do. I don't know my non-negotiable routine. So I want us to think about our own weekly non-negotiables, and I'm going to help you figure yours out. The key to good wellness non-negotiables are simple things that you can actually stick to no matter what. And when I say no matter what, I mean no matter what. No matter if you go out that weekend, no matter if you're playing catch up with your sleep, no matter if you're sick, no matter if you're tired, no matter if you're stressed, you're burnt out, no matter what. When I say no matter what, I mean no matter what, which means these are not the perfect habits that look good on social media that you just do when you're feeling really good. Those are great, and I definitely have things that I do when I feel awesome and I feel energized. But your weekly non-negotiables are things that you can do tired, sick, burnt out, stressed out. You can still do these things, which means we have to pick non-negotiables that are easy, simple, and effective, meaning that they actually work and they actually help you. So when we think about our non-negotiables, I don't want you to think about things that look good. I want you to think about things that actually work and actually set things up. My non-negotiables might be completely different than yours, and that is perfectly okay. And I would actually prefer that, because you and I are different people. You and I have different lifestyles, different jobs, different routines, different priorities, different responsibilities. We have different lives, which means things that I need to do in my life might be completely different than yours, and that's okay. I'm still gonna share mine because it might inspire you or help you think about things you're already doing, but feel free to customize this to your own life, because that's the only way that this is going to work. Like I said, they need to be easy and they need to be effective. I want you to think about your body like a car, and I love using this analogy to help people understand their body, because cars make sense. Even if you're not into cars and you can't change a tire, it still makes sense. The concept makes sense. If you're not fueling your car, it won't run. If you're not taking care of your car properly, it won't run. If all the lights on your dashboard are blinking at you, your car is not in the best state, and you should probably do something to fix that, right? I have an entire episode about, is your gas light on? And it uses this analogy a lot. You should definitely go listen to it after this. But the point is, if you're not doing the right things for your car, it's never going to run. And your body is the exact same way. If you're not fueling yourself properly, if you're not paying attention to the signals that your body is telling you, you're not going to feel your best. And we can continue to use this analogy for your non-negotiables. I want you to think about your non-negotiables as the essential things you need to do to make sure that your car runs. It's the things like the oil change, putting air in your tires, the simple little things that you actually need to do for your car to run. They're not extra. They're not to make it look nicer. Of course, you can do those things, and those things are fun. You can get different rims. You can get the windows tinted. You can do all these different things. But those things don't make the actual car run any better. However, the oil change, the air in the tires, that stuff matters. That stuff is essential to your car running, and your life and your body is no different. There are things that you need to be doing, and then there are extra things that you can do that feel good, that make you look good, but they don't necessarily change your whole week. And I want you to think about this when you're thinking about your wellness non-negotiables. There are things like the oil change, like the air in your tires, that when you do them week after week, you actually see a difference and an improvement in your life. And most of the time, these things aren't even that crazy. They're usually pretty simple, pretty quick. They don't take long to do, but they make a huge difference, whether you enjoy doing them or not. Some of my wellness non-negotiables I don't necessarily love doing, but when I don't do them, I see a huge difference the rest of the week, and I feel like I'm playing catch up and feeling behind. We want to avoid that. We don't want to be feeling like that. Most of my weekly non-negotiables I end up doing on the weekend. Now, this is for a few reasons. One, I naturally just have more time and more energy to do these things on the weekend, but also I do them in preparation for the work week. This is huge because when you're working full time, you have side hustles, you have relationships, you have a social life, you have all these things that you want to do, and you're managing a lot. Doing your non-negotiables on the weekend or whatever day you have off is setting you up for a flawless week the rest of the week. Of course, you're still going to have stress. Of course, you're still going to have to manage different things, but doing all of these things beforehand just takes a weight off of your shoulders. So I always do mine on my days off. I work Monday through Friday, so my days off are the traditional weekend. But I've also worked jobs where I worked during the weekends and I had off 2 weekdays, and that was when I would do these things instead. You need to make it work for you. If you work during the Monday through Friday, then do it on Saturday and Sunday. But if your schedule changes or you're off during the weekdays or whatever your schedule is, plan around that because that's the biggest thing. So the first weekly non-negotiable that I do every single week is plan out my week. And this sounds simple, and that's the point. That is exactly the point. I plan out my entire week from start to finish, and I plan out very specific things, which might sound a little bit overbearing or a little bit overwhelming, but the rest of the week, I just follow my routines and I follow my schedule that I created for myself, and I feel so much better. Like I said, you're gonna change this and adapt this to your own lifestyle. But for me, I need to plan out specific things. And certain things that really make a difference for me are planning out not only my work, my events, when I have to stay after work, all that stuff, but also my workouts. Like you guys already know, I'm in the process of recovering from ACL surgery, and part of my recovery is doing very specific strength training workouts, which means I need to go to the gym a certain amount of times per week, and I don't want to miss that. Just like we plan out everything else in our lives, I personally don't really bail on things. Like if I make a plan to go to a work event or go to a social event and I say, yes, I'm going, I go. If it's in my calendar and I don't have anything else that I need to do, I'm at those plans. So why wouldn't I treat my workouts the same exact way? And ever since I made this switch to planning it into my calendar, I don't miss. Like I just don't. I feel like before I was doing this, I would say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times this week, but I would never actually put it into my plans, and then I wouldn't end up going 3 times this week. If you want to start a workout routine or you want to start anything that you're really trying to dedicate time to, you have to dedicate time to it in your calendar as if it's an appointment with someone else, something that you wouldn't miss. You wouldn't miss a doctor's appointment, so why are you missing your gym appointment, right? The same thing goes for any side hustles that you want to start. Just like I dedicate time for my workouts, I also carve out the time for this podcast. This podcast is a huge part of my life and it takes a lot of time every single week. And I make that time in my calendar. Anytime that I've missed this and I haven't done this, I regret it so much because now I'm frantically trying to find time to do the podcast. I'm feeling bad that I missed my workouts. I didn't do the things that I said I was going to do. And doing this every week gives me no excuse. If you've been making excuses for yourself saying you don't have time to do your workouts, or if you feel like something else is always popping up and that's why you don't go to your workouts, try this step and I promise you will see a difference. For some reason, we don't take our own goals seriously, and everything else and every other responsibility has more power and more weight to it. No more of that. The time you make with yourself is just as important, if not more important, than those extra things that you're saying yes to. If you can say yes to social plans and extra work things and extra things, you definitely should be saying yes to your workouts, your side hustles, whatever you're trying to do in your life. I do this on my Google Calendar. You guys have seen my time blocks on Instagram stories. This makes a huge difference in my life. It's something that I will continue to do every single week and every single day, whether I post it or not. I like using Google Calendar because you can color code your calendars. and I have different colors for every big dimension of my life. So I have one color for work. I have one color for workouts. I have one color for my social life. I have one color for the podcast. I have one color for my schoolwork, right? I have different colors for different things. And I honestly love doing that. One, because it keeps me organized, but also when I'm planning out my week, I can see if I'm spending enough time in every dimension. Obviously, my work life takes up the most amount of time because I work full time. But outside of work, I like to see that I'm spending enough time doing workouts, enough time with my social life, enough time on the podcast, enough time doing things that I enjoy. And that's how I know that I'm going to have a successful or a good week. If you look at your calendar and you see that it's been 3 weeks since you've done anything social, it might be time to schedule something social with your friends, right? I love using this as a metric, not only to keep me organized and keep me on track, but also to see where I'm spending my time. And if I see that there's a consistent trend where I'm missing certain parts of my life, then I can make an effort to prioritize those more and schedule more time for those things. Doing this habit doesn't take a lot of time, but I think that's why a lot of people miss this step, because it doesn't take a lot of time. So it's easy to skip, it's easy to forget about, it's easy to think, oh, this doesn't do a lot for me. But every week that I do this, I am so glad that I did, and it takes all those decisions out of your head. If you feel like you're dealing with decision fatigue throughout the week, this is one step to reduce that, to make it a little bit easier for you to stick to your plans and stick to your goals. When it comes to planning my workouts specifically, I'm not super picky about what time or when I'm going, as long as I'm going. So I know at the beginning of the week, I need to schedule 4 days to work out of the 7 days in the week. And as long as I do those 4 days, it doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter what time, as long as I have them scheduled. Every week changes a little bit, and that's why I like doing it this way, because some weeks I'm able to go more on the weekends, some weeks it's after work, sometimes it's a class. It really just depends on my schedule, how I'm feeling, my energy that week. But the point is that I'm scheduling it. I think sometimes people get caught up, oh, I need to go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Wednesday comes around and you have all these things going on, so then you end up not going at all. That's not the case if you do it this way, because here you're scheduling your workouts around your other obligations, which means you're more likely to go and you're more likely to stick to it. Doing this on a weekly basis has been the most effective for me because it gives me enough time to plan in advance, but not too much time that now I'm overwhelmed or I'm unrealistic about how much I'm able to do. The most important key to consistency is actually being realistic with what you can handle for your lifestyle right now in this season of your life. So making a plan for your entire week on your events and everything that you need to do is the first step, at least for me, on my weekly non-negotiables. The next non-negotiable is planning out a menu for the week. And I've talked about this a few times before. I even have an ebook all about this topic. This is an essential habit for you to have a better week. I can promise you that. We've all been there where you do your weekly grocery shop, you spend a ton of money on all these healthy foods, then the rest of the week you have food in the fridge but nothing to eat. You end up getting Chinese takeout and you end up wasting half of your groceries. That is the worst feeling ever. And the reason that happens is from improper planning with the groceries that you're buying. It's one thing to make a grocery list. It's a completely different thing to make a meal plan and then make a list based off of that meal plan. Doing this takes me about 10 minutes per week. And I don't know why I dread it every single Sunday, because it truly sets me up the rest of the week. When I don't do this, I am completely frantic trying to figure out what to make after work for dinner. I'm stressed out about it. And then we usually end up defaulting to getting takeout, to going out to eat. And then you definitely don't feel your best if you're defaulting to going out to eat, wasting your groceries, you're wasting your money. It's a whole thing. So in order to avoid this, something that I do week after week is make a weekly meal plan. And this is not anything crazy. I don't make a meal plan where I'm tracking any calories or anything like that. It's simply a menu for the week. I usually do this on Saturday or Sunday. Lately, I've been leaning more towards Saturday just because I'm usually free. I have less going on. Sunday is a pretty busy day. That's when I record the podcast. I do my cleaning. I have a lot of stuff to do on Sunday. But do it whatever day that makes sense for you. If I don't get to it on Saturday, I definitely do it on Sunday. And if I don't get to it on Sunday, I have to do it on Monday. There's no arguing it. That's the thing about non-negotiables, is they happen no matter what. They're not negotiable. You do them no matter what. And even if I'm late a day, I still do this. So every week, what I do is I have a little template that's in my ebook. I can post it in the description, or you can just make your own on a piece of paper or on your phone. But I list out every single meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, I know that this probably sounds overwhelming and complicated because when you type that out, that's a lot of meals. But I'm not cooking every single one of these meals. I'm cooking some of them, I'm packing leftovers for some, but I'm making a plan to know what I'm eating. So for example, if I cook dinner tonight and I'm having the rest for leftovers tomorrow, I'll put whatever I'm making for tonight and leftovers tomorrow. That way I know I'm covered tonight and tomorrow for lunch. That's typically how I do my week, where I'll make dinner and then I pack the rest for lunch the next day so that I'm not eating the same thing for 5 days a week. I know people that meal prep their entire week and they love it and they stick to it. For me, I'm tired of the food by Wednesday and it just doesn't work for me. So I cook dinner at night, I'll bring it for lunch the next day, and then I'll make something different for dinner that night. That's what works for me. You can adjust this to however works for you and however much you want to cook. But no matter how much you're cooking each week, you have to know what you're eating. We have to eat to survive. Going back to the car thing, you have to fuel your car if you want your car to run properly. So I plan out my meals. I get inspiration from things I see online, meals I've made before. A lot of times I stick to the same easy, healthy meals that I know I can easily make no matter how busy I am, no matter how stressed I am. And I plan my meals based on the things that I have going on that day. So if I know that I'm going to work and then going to PT and then going here and going there and then coming home, I'm not going to put this extravagant 5-course meal. I'm going to put something simple like tacos, okay? I also take into consideration if I'm going out to dinner. That way I know, okay, I'm going out to dinner. I need to figure out what I'm having for lunch the next day. I usually keep my breakfast pretty simple. I'll either pick something and have it that entire week, or I'll just know like here's a couple options that I can make. I feel like breakfast is pretty easy. You can just make eggs, things like that. I know some people do overnight oats or those egg bites and things like that. If that works for you, add this to your non-negotiables of doing your meal prep. But for me, I get a little bit weird about leftovers for too long, so I prefer to make it every single day, but that's just what works for me. On the note of meal planning, I also add my snacks in. This is a newer thing for me. I've talked about this a little bit before, but planning out my snacks that I know I'm gonna have throughout the week when I'm at work. This has really changed the game for me because it gives me no excuse to have a healthy snack to grab for. I feel like usually if you're hungry and you're not eating enough throughout the day or throughout your meals, once you get to that hungry point, you're grabbing whatever you can grab. You're having the treats in the break room. You're stopping somewhere to get something. And that just slows down your progress on your wellness goals. I hate that snacking has gotten a bad rep because snacking itself isn't bad. What's bad is the snacks that we choose. So if you're packing apples and peanut butter, beef sticks, things like that, there is absolutely nothing wrong with eating those snacks. The problem is when we're having a bag of chips and we end up eating the entire bag of chips because we're so hungry and skipped lunch. That's when snacking usually is not the best thing for you. But having an apple and peanut butter, a Greek yogurt, hard-boiled eggs in your lunchbox, absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, I recommend it, especially if you find that you're hungry throughout the day. I'm definitely going to link some other episodes that go along with this meal planning and meal prepping if that's something you're interested in, because this is something that I feel like I've truly dialed down to a science and I love sharing this. So my second non-negotiable every single week is making a meal plan or making a menu so that I know what I'm eating. Going along with this, there is no point in doing your menu if you're not getting the groceries to match. So getting groceries has to be a part of your weekly routine somewhere. This is where you can personalize this for your routine. It is up to you how often you go and where you go, but the point is that you go. Some weeks I prefer to go one day during the week, either a Saturday or a Sunday, and get everything I need for the week and not go back. And other times I prefer to go a little bit on Sunday, just get a couple things that I need, go again maybe on Wednesday, get a couple more things that I need. It really depends on my schedule, but if you choose the second option where you're getting a little bit but more frequently, you have to make sure you actually go back and get the rest of the stuff, because it's very easy to get into a cycle of, okay, I'm going to get a couple things here and there and I'm going to come back later, and then you never go back later and here you're getting Chinese takeout Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I've been there, we've all been there. You got to get your groceries. If you can afford it and you're in a really busy season of your life, Instacart. But do something to get your groceries. If you are trying to eat healthier in your life, you have to make sure that you're getting your groceries in order to do that. You can save all the healthy recipes on Pinterest. It does not matter if you don't actually buy the groceries and make them, okay? This is usually one of my most dreaded chores and errands throughout the week, but every single time it's done, I'm always rewarded and I'm always happy that I went. So definitely add that in. This is something you can also schedule when you're scheduling out your week. Make that time to go to the grocery store for an hour, hour and a half on a Saturday or a Sunday. Put it in your calendar as if it's a non-negotiable. You have to go, and then you'll end up going. I know these things sound simple, but that's really the point, is they're supposed to be simple things that you can actually do no matter what. When I tell you no matter what, I really mean no matter what. I keep saying this, but it's so important. No matter how many social events you have, no matter what side hustle you're doing, no matter what goals you have to make time to do certain things that are going to set you up for the rest of the week. For me, it's planning my week, planning out my meals, getting my groceries. And the last thing that I do every single week is a weekly cleaning routine. I feel like most people have some sort of Sunday reset, weekly cleaning, some kind of cleaning plan. And for me, this makes a huge difference in my mental space. I'm one of those people that if my space around me is messy, my brain feels messy, and vice versa. If my brain is messy, there's a high chance that the space around me is messy. That is just how I operate. And honestly, I should have started the episode with this because it is really difficult for me to get anything else done if I feel like there is so much mess everywhere else. Every week, no matter what, I am doing a weekly cleaning routine. This includes all the laundry, washing the sheets, tidying up, organizing things, hanging things up in my closet that got thrown around, all of those things that we need to do. This is when I do them. Obviously, throughout the week, I'm cleaning up as I go. After I cook, I'm doing the dishes, cleaning the counters, that kind of stuff. But on the weekend, I like to do a deeper clean the bathroom, clean the things that don't get cleaned every single day. And that makes such a big difference because if you're trying to have a successful week, it is really hard to do that if you have clutter everywhere, just a mess everywhere. I personally can't operate that. It makes my whole brain feel messy. I feel like I can't do anything else until it's done. So this is something that I make sure I have time for every weekend. Even if it's just a couple hours on a Sunday, it makes such a big difference and it really sets your week up. I know for me, I'm someone that I will procrastinate by cleaning. So like during the week, if I have a big task or something for work I need to do, but my space is a mess, I will end up doing those other things rather than the things I actually need to get done. And it's a big procrastination thing. So in order to avoid this, I make sure that I get all of these things done over the weekend. This just allows me to be more productive, more clear-headed, have a fresh start, and just feel good for the week. And I highly recommend. I think a lot of people can relate to this. So to wrap up my weekly wellness non-negotiables, to have a flawless week, I'm always starting out by planning. I'm planning out my work days, my events, my workouts, grocery shopping, all of that stuff. I'm making sure that I have time for it and I'm treating it just like any other obligation that I have. I have to do these things. I'm planning out my meals, and this is a simple menu that I can stick to, that I can follow and make a grocery list based off of that. That way I'm not wasting food, getting unnecessary takeout, feeling stressed about what to make and having nothing to eat. Just really limiting all that decision fatigue when it comes to cooking and eating healthy. And then cleaning my space, making sure I have time to do a deeper clean on the weekend, set my space up for the week, and just declutter. This is more for my mental health, my productivity, and just feeling good. I know these things are super simple and they're not rocket science, and you've probably heard all of these things before. You probably already do these things, but I want to put emphasis on these being non-negotiables in your week. I find that when we're really stressed and we're burnt out or we have a lot going on, these are the first things to go. And it reinforces this negative cycle because if you're not doing these things when you're already burnt out and already stressed, you're going to have extra stress and extra burnout because you're not prioritizing your wellness routines. You're not prioritizing your groceries. And you end up feeling worse and worse. And then that's how cycles of burnout and all of that start, at least for me and in my experience. When you're figuring out your non-negotiables, it's important that you view them as non-negotiables, not just things that help your life out, not just things that feel good, not just things that look good for social media. These are things that really help you and really improve your week, and they only take a little bit of time. Planning my week takes about 10 minutes. Planning my menu takes about 10 more minutes. Going grocery shopping is an hour a week. And then cleaning the house, however long that takes you, your laundry and all of that stuff. But you can usually do other things at the same time. It doesn't take that much, and yet it completely transforms the week that you have. I know when I stick to my wellness non-negotiables, my entire week just feels like I am already set up for success. And when I don't do them, I feel like I'm playing catch up the rest of the week. When you're figuring out your non-negotiables, treat them as such and treat them like you cannot cancel them. You cannot bail on them. These are things that you absolutely have to do, and do them. And if you're still trying to decide what non-negotiables you have in your life, keep them realistic. Don't overwhelm yourself by giving yourself 20 habits that you need to stick to every single week. Keep it small. I would say about 3 things that you know you can stick to every single week that you might already be doing and you might not even have noticed that you do these things. Your non-negotiables shouldn't be these big grand gestures or these big crazy habits. It should be simple things that you know actually improve your life each week. I promise you, once you know what your non-negotiables are, it is so much easier to stick to them and prioritize them because it becomes just a part of you. Rather than it's like, oh, this would be nice if I go meal plan. It's like, no, I just meal plan. Every Sunday, I meal plan. That's just what I do. And your habits will be the same for you. So now it's your turn. I encourage you to think about what your weekly non-negotiables are. After listening to this, take a moment to think about them, maybe write them down, and share them with me on Instagram. I would love to know what your weekly non-negotiables are. You can DM them to me, you can comment them, you can post them on your story. But really think about it and stick to them because it truly sets you up for a better week. I feel like sticking to these non-negotiables and sticking to my wellness routines is the biggest form of self-love that I could possibly do. And I want to share that feeling with you. Thank you so much for listening. Also, thank you so much for the positive feedback on the new name, The Wellness Club. I'm loving it. And I'm so glad that you guys are loving it too. Make sure you follow the Instagram at The Wellness Club XO and me at Cass Camp. Give this podcast 5 stars and nothing less. Thank you so much for listening. Let's have a great week. Bye.